Today is Tuesday, October 5th, and today's agricultural fact of the day was kind of the result of someone, Emma, sending me a video talking about and promoting the consumption of raw milk and the extensive health benefits that it provides. Well, really got me onto something here. So this is a fact that I did last spring that I'm repeating now because of that situation. Today's agricultural fact. At a dairy farm in Texas last spring, they noticed that their cows were getting sick, characterized by some respiratory issues and a drop in milk production. Shortly after the cows got sick, they noticed that their barn cats were getting sick and the farmers were finding them unalived. They were found unalived with no apparent signs of injury, but were from a resident population for rodent control, which means they lived on the farm. And for some reason, dairy farmers think that adult cats need to be fed milk. Ironically, cats are lactose intolerant. Anyway, I digress. These cats had been fed raw milk from the bulk tank recently. Tissue was collected from the brain and lung tissues of these cats, and it showed high amounts of the highly pathogenic avian influenza virus. And through the necropsies, we'll talk about that in a second, most of them showed microscopic lesions consistent with severe systemic virus infection in the eyes and the brain. The fact I'm going to do tomorrow is about avian influenza in humans. I've not done the research on that yet, so try not to ask too many follow-up questions because I don't have answers at this point in time. Let's talk about that word necropsy. A lot of people are unaware of this. An autopsy is when a human is conducting it on a human. If a cat were conducting it on a cat, it would be called an autopsy. If a human is conducting it on any other species, it is called a necropsy. And I'm saying this because there's a lot of people uneducated on this fact. And in this article specifically, which if you Google it, you'll find it, came from CBS News. And in the article, they called it an autopsy, probably because the general public is not educated on that, but I just felt the need to educate you. So this situation in particular and other situations like this have brought forth that cattle, dairy cows specifically, can contract avian influenza and pass it through their milk. Through research that has been conducted, they have found that by taking milk from infected cows, putting it through the pasteurization process that our milk in the grocery store goes through, that's a whole nother story, it kills that pathogen, it kills that virus so that people cannot contract it. So, again, highly varies on location. I'm not saying that every dairy cow carries avian influenza, but if you have infections in your state, you may want to reconsider consuming raw milk because, again, I haven't done research on this since last spring, but I'm pretty sure there was a human that contracted it, but I'll follow up with that tomorrow. Also, a side note, there is a reason that these protocols are in place and why we have HACCP plans, hazard analysis, critical control points in place in all of these large-scale processing facilities and even the small-scale inspected ones, because it prevents simple instances where food recalls would occur. So basically, it's a checklist that these people have to do every single day when they do steps of this processing, including sanitation, which basically ensures that temperatures are being met for pasteurization processes and that these protocols are being followed because they will be inspected by the USDA. And the USDA, the last thing that they want and the reason that they have these protocols in place in the first place is because they don't want a large-scale food recall situation or large-scale illnesses. Do we remember COVID? Right? Now I'm not going to get on that soapbox, but remember how hard they tried to mitigate large-scale infections because our hospital facilities cannot handle that. And it's no different with the milk recalls that have occurred in our country's history. There is a reason we have these protocols in place. And does it make the milk taste different? Yeah, absolutely. Putting it through the pasteurization process does change some qualities about that milk. But one thing that pasteurization process pretty much guarantees is that there are very, very slim instances where people are going to get sick consuming that milk. It's also going to be shelf stable for longer, so it's going to save us money in the long run because your milk isn't going bad as quickly and it's not spoiling. And I will tell you that I went on a rant in one of the classes that does the Ag Fact of the Day for like 20 minutes. But one positive takeaway is that the kids actually remember those rants and they remember the information that I have to give them, because I brought up an avian influenza Ag Fact of the Day that we did back at the beginning of September, and they recalled it like that. Even the 8th graders. It was incredible. I'm like, wow, that makes me feel really good that you're actually learning from my crazy, insane rants that I go on the regular. Oh well.